We're starting things off in Florida with this horrific partial building collapse. Rescuers have been working throughout the night. You know, authorities saying that they literally had to pull some of these search and rescue teams off the site when their shift was coming to an end because they did not want to stop searching.
Yeah, you know, if there's anything that some of the families, the more than 100 families that are waiting to hear word of their loved ones can take solace in, Anne-Marie, is that, and we talked a little bit about this yesterday, during the earthquake in Haiti, when buildings had pancaked, we were finding people 5 and even 6 days after the buildings had collapsed. I remember specifically one young boy who was 5 years old. We were there when EMT workers pulled him out of the rubble of his home 5 days after the building had pancaked. And on the 6th day, there was an 80-plus-year-old woman who was pulled out of the rubble of a church, and in fairly good health. I mean, you know, in shock and in trauma, but survived. And in fact, that young boy is now in high school. So it is possible that they will find people who are still alive, hopefully, in that rubble. But the horrific details are coming in now this morning because of what happened in South Florida, where the death toll at this point is climbing and rescue operations are intensifying. So we now know that 4 people are confirmed dead, but there are still 159 people unaccounted for. Crews are searching through massive piles of debris for any signs of life from potential survivors. This comes after a condo building partially collapsed yesterday in the town of Surfside. Manuel Bojorquez reports from a reunification center where families are desperately waiting for updates on their missing loved ones.
I just want my mom. Like, I want to go back a day and change everything.
65-year-old Judy Spiegel was in the Champlain Tower South condo building when it collapsed and remains unaccounted for. We spoke with her husband and 3 children who are praying for a miracle.
I guess we're just really thankful for all the hard work of the police and fire and EMS services that are out there continuing to search the rubble.
And we hope that they continue to push and not give up, and we hope to find some answers, and we hope to see my mom.
We just want to see our mom.
They described Judy as a dedicated wife, mother, and grandmother.
Earlier, you had described her as your best friend, which is interesting. I don't know that all people would describe their mothers as their best friend.
I think we all would.
We all would. She's all our best friend.
Judy's husband, Kevin, was out of town when the building collapsed.
The hardest thing that we're going to do over the next day or two is tell Scarlett about Grandma. That is the hardest thing because she was their life. She was there for them day and night. She gave herself to everybody.
And no matter what happens, I want everybody in the world to know how wonderful my mom is and how great of a person she is and how much we love her and she loves us. And, you know, whatever happens, like, I'm committed to keeping her alive in every sense of the way.
So Manuel Bojorquez is with us now to discuss the latest. Manuel, I got to tell you, I found your story really, really tough to watch. The pain is palpable, the agony of such uncertainty, and I know this is just one of many families that are waiting to hear something. We just heard a press conference not too long ago. We got some new details. What can you tell us?
Well, the unfortunate news is that the number of people who are unaccounted for at the building collapse is now 159. The death toll stands at 4, and of course the fear is that it will rise significantly. But officials also wanted to stress this, that this remains a rescue mission, that they still believe there could be survivors beneath the rubble, and that gives hope to all the loved ones who have been here at this family reunification center waiting for any word about their relatives. That family that you heard from there, they said, yes, this is heartbreaking to talk about, but they wanted to share her story.
So, Manny, we now know there are at least 4 dead. What do we know about what officials are saying about the death toll? Do we have any details on who those 4 are? their family members. I mean, I know, as I mentioned at the top of the show, that there are many families that are still holding out hope. And it's only been a day and a half, but you know, the most important thing for the EMTs, and they know this, is speed and time. There can be air pockets, there can be crevices in the building that allow people to survive. It rained, I know, the other day, Manny, which is actually very, very important because people can survive for a number of days if they have access to water, and even a couple of drops. This is something I learned, and I know you know this too, in covering earthquakes and other disasters where buildings have collapsed on people. Even if people have just a couple of drops of water, that can be the difference between life or death.
That's right, and you know, it has rained this morning even. There have been bands of thunderstorms that have come through this area. It's the rainy season here, so indeed, if there is anyone who survived and can use that water, that would be a good thing. It does from time to time, however, hamper the rescue efforts. The important thing to remember here is the dedication of these rescue workers who are still in there right now. They have brought in cranes this morning and heavy machinery to try to lift up some of that rubble. They had been trying to be very careful, clearly, about that because they don't want to disturb any potential air pockets in there where survivors could be. But this is also dangerous work for them. They had been trying to tear through some of that rubble, getting into an underground garage where they were able to access some of those areas that had pancaked on top of each other. But they have to be very careful because the debris is still unstable and falling on them as well. So we've talked to those family members who are here, and they say that one gives them hope, but also that they are just so grateful for the work that those teams are doing in there, risking their own lives.
Yeah, Manny, we're showing some video now where you can see a dog kind of going over the rubble. Can you talk a little bit about just what they're using to make their way through what is left of the building? I know in the press conference they talked about what's happening above ground and what's happening below ground and the various sort of types of equipment that they're using and how they're tackling the rubble differently depending on the crews that are above and below.
Right, and again, this is an effort that will take several days, perhaps more than a week, to try to sift through all that rubble. You've mentioned the dogs, you've mentioned the heavy machinery that they are using. Another important set of tools for them are sonar devices and search cameras, and that's where they try to see if anybody is either trying to speak with them, yelling potentially, or banging. Yesterday, they referenced that they did pick up sounds that appeared to be banging. They can't be sure because we don't know what's in that rubble, what could still be making noise. But they did not hear voices. We've not heard this morning that they have heard any voices coming from the rubble. But the important thing here is that they continue to treat this as a rescue mission and that they will continue to use those devices to listen to see if anybody may be down there and still alive.
So, Manny, we've learned that a couple of dozens of survivors have been rescued so far. What's the update there? I know that one ranged as young as 5 or fairly young, and there have been others.
That's right, and there was that incredible video that was released pretty early yesterday after the collapse of a 10-year-old boy being rescued from the rubble. We were told that he was there with his mother and they were able to get them out. There were also people in this section of the building that had not collapsed that weren't able to get out, and they had to be rescued using ladder trucks plucked from their balconies, essentially. That building, as you might imagine, is also likely unstable, so they're not able to get back in here. And of course, the loss of life is the greatest tragedy of all. But you have to remember that people have also lost their homes here. And in fact, the Spiegel family, Kevin, the husband of Judy Spiegel, who is unaccounted for, said, "We are still hopeful that she will be found alive." But he's also lost all his possessions, all those material possessions, nowhere near the tragedy of potentially losing his wife. But it's still something that people here have to deal with.
Yeah, indeed. Manny, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, we're still a long way from figuring out the cause here to this thing. We know that there was a report that indicated that the building had been sinking over the last several years, maybe a decade or so. There was work being done on the roof. The building was getting prepared for its sort of recertification, which is supposed to happen once every 40 years. The building was built in 81, I think, so it's just coming up for its recertification. All of that is going to be looked into when it's time to move on to what caused this. But right now, we're talking about search and rescue. We're talking about the human beings impacted by this and what we can do to help them get through.
Right.
All right.